Welcome to Mastering the Art of Real Estate. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here today with Laura Guzman. She is coming to us from Berkeley, California. Let's welcome her in. Hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm great, Debbie. How are you?
So good to see you. I'm so
You
excited to
too.
share and hear your journey. I know your little boutique, which we'll get into, but I don't know your story. So I love to interview people blind. So let's properly introduce you and then we'll get started. Laura Guzman is a seasoned community builder with a unique career spanning the architecture, design, and construction industries. And now, as founder of Book Society, she's bringing that same spirit of connection to an entirely new kind of space. Throughout her career, Laura has led strategic marketing, communications, and business development efforts for AEC firms, always with a focus on strengthening relationships and building community, both within and beyond the built environment. Her leadership and engagement in organizations like Urban Land Institute reflect a deep commitment to shaping spaces that foster belonging, dialogue, and impact. Now, with Book Society, a bookstore bar in Berkeley, California, Laura is reimagining what community space can look like in a post pandemic world. Part bookstore, part wine bar, and entirely rooted in connection. Book Society is a new kind of third place where people can unplug, gather, and reconnect over books, wine, and conversation. Well, I just think it's a brilliant idea. And I was so happy when my facialist Liz told me about you. I immediately booked an appointment and came down there for one of your events, which we will dive into. So Laura is with Book Society, and like she said, it's a cafe wine bar, not in the typical sense of a cafe and wine bar. And it's this beautiful space filled with books and truly is community. And I love how throughout your bio you spoke about community and building community and belonging. And I love that. That is really something that resonates with me. But before we go into all of that about Book Society, let's talk about your early years. And I grew up in Piedmont, very hyper local here. So I love to hear how people got here and their journey. So, Laura, tell us about your early years.
Yeah. Well, I'm a seventh generation farm kid. So my early years were spent on a farm in upstate New York. And it was a dairy farm and apple orchard. In fact, it's still there. I'm the one who left. So my brother, sister, parents are all still on the farm. And that
Wow.
was a really valuable upbringing. One of those upbringings you don't know how valuable until you leave, but it really sparked in me an understanding of the value of community. You know, we had three key spaces in my little itty bitty town: the church, the town hall, and the library. And I spent a lot of my time in that library. So that was pretty formative for what I'm doing right now. But um, my early years, I went to school studying agricultural communications, so really focused on agricultural PR and public policy. And that journey took me to Albany, New York, and then DC. Spent some time in DC on the Hill. And there are some great community spaces there, bookstore bars that I spent a
Mhm.
lot of time at. And so that helped to formulate a little bit of this idea. But it took a little bit of a detour. And that's actually, our intersection here into the AEC industry. A lot of food and nutrition and agriculture communications is related to land use and land use policy. And so I got interested in the intersection of how we uh, determine what our urban spaces should look like and how we curate them. And so I spent my 2 weeks of PTO in that early job. I took a little unpaid stint at an architecture and planning firm to learn more about that. And then I jumped ship and moved over into that space and have been in that ever since. And yeah, so this intersection of designing community and understanding what our spaces need to be to serve community and create and form community has been absolutely the underpinning of my entire career. And yeah, suddenly find myself in Berkeley. That's a journey that DC, New York, San Francisco, and then COVID. And I made the leap across the bay to Berkeley during COVID.
When you were doing your urban planning and you were creating these developments, where were you and what did they look like? What did that entail? Were they a whole community? Was it commercial, residential? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was all over the map. And so my role has always been on the marketing side, so leading pursuits as well as communications. And I have spent, I like to say, um, time in almost every aspect of the industry. And so it was urban planning and design in the beginning. And my first projects were pursuits related to cultural institutions like museums, some academic institutions, and then really, really large scale, like city scale urban planning, mostly internationally. So my biggest
Oh,
pursuits
wow.
were in India, China, and Saudi Arabia. And those are places
Wow.
that we're literally thinking, "Hey, how do we start a city from scratch and what's that look like?" So those were really, really fun and all over the map. I learned a ton. And then, yeah,
Wow.
I actually moved up to New York. My husband and I were we were commuting back and forth between DC and New York. And so one of us had to make the leap, and I moved on up there. And I ended up working with on the design and technology side of things at an Autodesk partner. I spent a huge chunk of my career doing that, actually. So started out in marketing for that firm, and then moved into COO role. And that was so looking at how does technology influence the way that we design spaces. And I helped us expand to London and also to the West Coast. And eventually I picked up along with a couple of other executives, and we moved westward to San Francisco and spent some time here. Then I worked
That's
at
incredible.
WSP, so a large engineering firm. Yeah, led business development and marketing for US buildings operations at WSP. And that took me all over the US as well, and different sorts of projects, a lot of life sciences. That was a big
Okay.
market. Mission critical projects as data centers were growing, and healthcare was a big segment for us. Yeah, and then
Wow.
now I find myself I'm actually currently at the latest role, which is at Excel Construction, now part of Graham Construction. We merged with them at the beginning of this year. And so my role is head of marketing communications for that local Bay Area general contractor. And now I'm involved in merging us together and what's it look like to be part of a big North America organization. So I
Wow.
do that in the morning,
That-
and then I head on over to Book Society in the afternoon.
so that's your day off. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Laura, who has had multiple lives in one. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Art of Real Estate. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here with Laura Guzman. Wow, you have just had such a busy life. And it was really interesting how you said, I did not know when I met you that you were from a little farm. And it really is all about community. And you have everything you've done has been very community minded. So let's jump into how I met you at your newest project, Book Society. I'll let you tell us exactly what it is. It's a beautiful space, but tell us how you got there, what led you there, and then tell us all it has to offer and all of the exciting things that you bring to Book Society.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, Book Society, bookstore, wine lounge, and we like to say a cozy space to hang out. It's the third space on College Ave in Berkeley in the great little neighborhood of Elmwood. And it's a really special space. It's a combination of, it's a high-end, almost a New York vibe kind of lounge and cozy bookstore. And so when you walk in, the idea is, you're kind of teleported. There's some really beautiful structural elements like these arches that we built into the space that just draw you in. And the idea is, you come in and you can browse for books. We have a really fun self-serve We call it a choose your own adventure wine experience. And so you can self pour and try any of the wines that we have available. The selection changes every month. And then it's a space to hang out and meet one another. And we only have one hard and fast rule, and that's we're a laptop free zone. And the idea is we're there to reconnect, to be in community with one
Mm.
another, or just unplug. And I think that that's one of the most critical things we need in this moment. And you asked,
Absolutely.
how do we get this started? I mean, it's the space that I felt like I needed. It really started to gel for me coming out of COVID. We moved
Mm.
to the East Bay in the middle of things. You really didn't meet a lot of people during that time. You'd keep your distance, you'd take walks, maybe you'd meet your neighbors, but there weren't spaces where you're connecting with people. And as we were emerging from that, I was really intentional about how I wanted to reemerge into the world, but also really struggled, frankly, with how to connect and find new community and really discover that there just aren't third spaces. And I think we're seeing a resurgence of this in lots of forms and fashions in our neighborhoods now. But I wanted to create that kind of a space for us and make sure that we're cultivating the communities of. I think I'm sort of harkening back to my roots, right? Those
Yes.
communities of the past where you met with other people and you unplugged.
Exactly. And I know for me it's a little hard because I love to write. And so I want to go and then I'm like, well, I can't bring out my computer or take out my notes, but I get it.
Yeah.
So it is very defined. The space is very defined and it is so purposeful. And I love that. So I wasn't sure if when you go to it, because it's a bookstore and it sounds like people can talk. I was thinking it's a bookstore. So you read, but you can't talk. Can people engage and talk like you were saying just now? Is that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a really lively space. So it sort of depends on what when you walk in, what the vibe is of the moment. But I'm actually excited for tonight because Fridays are bonkers at Book Society.
Oh,
It's a great
wow.
date night. It's actually it really sort of turns into more of the bar vibe, but in a really refined way. But yeah, I mean, it's a lively spot. If you come to our events, you know that there's a lot of activity and networking that happens at those too. So we're kind of always cultivating lots of different experiences. I mean, another sort of alternative to that is, there are quiet times. We do a program on the first Sunday of every month called Sunday in the Stacks. And that's before the store opens, and we clear out the whole middle of the space and make room
Mm.
to do yoga or sound bath or meditation, some sort of restorative practice, which also feels really magical, surrounded by books and just being in
Yeah.
a quiet space. And then we have mimosas and we start our day. So yeah, it can be a lot of things. I think what's fun is how much it transforms from one moment to the
Mhm.
next to suit a lot of needs. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So to describe it, because 'cause I'm so visual and people can't understand the beauty of it. So, people would think, okay, you go it's a coffee shop, but it's or a wine bar. It's not. It's not like you walk into a coffee shop and people are doing their own thing and there's not typically a sofa and it's really set up as a living room. You feel like when you walk into it, it's warm. As a realtor and designer, I noticed the wallpaper right away and the arches, and I was mesmerized by just the sheer beauty and design of it all and the layout. So it's very welcoming. It's not sterile. It's not, coffee shops could be so, I don't know, a little rigid, but just kind of not very comfortable. It's like it's very homey in your place, which is like a home, and it's not a bar scene. So it is that in between that I can imagine that they would have in um, I think you said Europe and different places. We just don't have. I've never seen this really. Trying to think, the closest I saw to what this is in New York. It was I don't like cigars, but it was a really cool cigar lounge bar, and it was very the
Yeah.
leather seats, and it's very homey, living room like. So this is just, it's very comfortable. And so it's good to know people can come in and really socialize as well. It is a bookstore, but it is a book society. So you can converse about whatever it is. So there are really great events. So I can't wait to go to a sound bath. I love sound baths, but I've been to a couple events there. So it was like, usually I think they're on a Sunday. So tell us about a few of those different events you've had on those Sundays. Maybe start out with the two women who were families of spies.
Ah, yes. Yeah. And actually, so most of our events happen on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That the
Okay.
Sunday in the Stacks is one of those exceptions. And yeah, we do all sorts of curated things. And we like to say now we're new. We're just over 6 months in. And
Wow.
so we're kind of up for everything. So we, yeah, had a wonderful conversation with two authors who both shared stories of their childhoods growing up with parents who are spies. And that was just an incredibly fun and rich conversation with two local authors. And other times we've had folks join us. My favorite Irish author was making his way through town and made us stop by Book Society, and that was so
Oh,
special. So Niall Williams, presented to a crowd of 400 in San Francisco the night before, and then joined us for an intimate conversation of 40 the day
nice.
after, and that's so special. We have 6 book clubs, so we also kind of facilitate book club conversations in a variety of different ways, and those are thematic. And so it's fun to see people who just gravitate to a theme and see they end up with. So one of the most popular ones is the WTF Did I Just Read book club. So reading things that are a little bit out there, and the Secret Romantasy fan book club is also a very lively group. But we've got a wandering book club, so we go take a hike and talk about books.
Oh,
We just
wow.
launched the traveling book club, and so that's a really incredible partnership with another local woman-owned small business, and we're doing retreats and adventures together. So the idea is this is a space where we come together, but also where we're cultivating community and going out into the world and experiencing books and wine and conversation together. So our first big trip is going to be to Mexico City this coming
Wow.
February. And so we'll do some reading leading up to it to get to know each other, and we'll meet there. And my hope is book clubs from all over the US can be meeting and connecting, and then we'll all converge on Mexico City. And so I'm excited to see that come together.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. We were in Mexico City last year. It was incredible. I didn't know what to expect. My son had gone and loved it. So I said, well, why don't we go back as a family? And I had no idea what to expect, but it was incredible. You are going to have an amazing time. The food is amazing. The people, of course, are amazing. And what a fun way. I did not know you had all these book clubs. So you have the events Tuesdays and Wednesdays and sometimes
Mhm.
Sundays. And then it's really about community, but it's community bringing community in and then going beyond the walls. You're a hub for building that community, which is so incredible. So how did you do it? How did you well, I guess you're not totally transitioned. You're still working another job, but tell us how you built it, the nuts and bolts for a business person wanting to know how to start a business. I mean, this is a big, thriving business you started, and it's only been 6 months. And I know for me, because I have a big mouth, I'm sharing it with everyone because I think it's incredible, and I'll include it in my next blog. There's so many more facets to it. So, tell us as a business person how you did it. How did you pull it together?
Yeah, it's funny when I think back, I think it really started with vocalizing this idea.
Mm,
I'm sure a lot of us have these ideas and dreams in our minds, and you know, it percolates up there quietly for a long time. But then the moment you put it out into the world, you start to end up having to hold yourself accountable. You said it to somebody, and they heard you say you're going to do this thing. And I remember doing that with a group I used to belong to, the Chief Network, which is a women's executive network. And I was at an event and shared this idea. And so I had cheerleaders who were saying, "Wow, that's amazing. What a great idea." So then pen to paper and really start building the business plan. And then, as you know, it's about finding the right community space and landlords and realtors that understand your vision. And Debbie, like I do a lot of orientation. There's an orientation that we do with every person who walks through the door to explain what's going on, because it's something different.
yeah.
And so I did have to spend a lot of time explaining and going to the Small Business Association and trying to articulate, how I would somebody help to, give me a loan to start this business.
Right.
But I'm really fortunate that I had some folks who believed in me, and business plan, land alone, did some shopping, found this space, circled around a bunch for a while, but then nothing beat this one. I kept coming back to this spot. And then next thing you know, you sign a lease and there's no turning back, right? So we're yeah,
Staunch.
yeah. Yeah, so I think I got really lucky, and it's also about finding good partners. And I have a great business partner in my colleague Sarah Wheat, who moved to the Bay Area as I was in construction. So we had paper up in our windows for the longest time, Coming Soon
Mhm.
Book Society. And she emailed me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I had a similar dream on the East Coast, but her family ended up having to move here. Just would love to chat with you." And we really clicked. And so, right place, right time to have her. And my husband has been an undying supporter. He'll wear the
Oh,
apron. He's our sound guy. They're installing things, and is that's critical, is having that support system behind you, especially when the days get hard. You know,
yes. Are you open 7 days a week?
we're open 6 days a week, so we're closed on Mondays, and we
Okay.
just expanded our hours this past week for the summer anyway, and so we're open till 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. And that's been great. I mean, a lot of what we're doing now is just in response to the community. And what we're
Nice.
hearing is the community needs more places where we can hang out at night. I want to go
Yeah.
somewhere and grab a drink after the movie or before the play down the road. And so um, I'm really glad that we are able to be nimble as a small business and respond to the community. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so how are you what has been your other than word of mouth, what has been your marketing plan? How have you been reaching out to the community?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, we got really lucky, and in the beginning had some great press. I mean, I was so grateful for the Chronicle covering us on our opening day, and we had a couple of other publications. And then the surprise stuff has been, the social media and word of mouth. We had a handful of guests come in. Sometimes we know what they're up to, and sometimes we don't, and post videos that go viral. And so 9 out of 10 people tell us, "Hey, we saw you on Instagram. We saw you on
Wow.
TikTok," which is so funny to me because I'm not on TikTok. So it's others sharing that. And then, yeah, like I said, that word of mouth has been priceless. There's a million other things we want to do, and as a marketer, it's kind of killing me about
Right.
not spending as much time as I'd love to on that, but we're keeping busy.
You sure are. It's growing. So what are some marketing things that you'd like to do once you I mean, if you might not have to, but what are some marketing things to help the audience, like if they're creating something on their own, share some of your marketing insights from a background in marketing that could help people in their businesses as well. Because not
Yeah.
everyone's as lucky to have that word of mouth, though. So,
Exactly. Yeah, no, we're really lucky to have that. And I'd say, one thing is, not underestimating your early champions. And we've got a membership program and a subscription program. And those are folks who are right out of the gate really invested in our success. And so I would love to, and we do a lot with our program already, but more and more, and making sure that those members see value and that they're continuing to share their passion for our business with others. The other is, I am really excited about what we're creating here, and I try not to lose sight of the bigger vision, and that's I love this space. I I think it's the backbone of a potentially bigger conversation about some things we really need in this world right now.
yeah.
And I want to be able to have that conversation and spend some more time sharing that. The fact that, the benefits of reading,
Mhm.
certainly, and that's well documented. The need for third spaces and what the value is for that for us now, not just coming out of COVID, but with everything going on in the world, and the ability to create spaces that bring us back to the importance of community and being able to have open dialogue and communication and conversation with one another. And that's what I love about the events that we're having. Yes, they're fun. Yes, there's wine and there's food and there's all of that, but there's also this opportunity where we're really hearing each other.
It
And we need
kind
to
of seems
create spaces like that. Yeah.
It kind of seems like when I went to a couple of events, and I've got to get back to going to some more again, but you would see the same people, so it was really nice. I remember meeting a gal, and she was either Russian or Ukrainian, and you don't know, and then you see them, and you start having a conversation, so you immediately start to build community just as you see the same people come. And when you say third space, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's not work, it's not home, but it's that
Oh,
other,
okay.
I mean, it's your home away from home, and that's
Okay.
exactly it, you nailed it. It's, what's that other place that you wanna spend, all the rest of your
Right.
time?
That's actually true because you go to a restaurant, even if, you wanna go out, but maybe you're not really that hungry, so but if you're gonna go out to dinner, you have to eat if you drink, if you're at a bar. So it is that really medium middle space where you could be, and it's not like people can come there and I don't think you make them feel obligated to order to have drinks, and it's a place to come. And so tell us, you said, well, let's go to commercial break. I always forget to do those, and we'll be right back with Laura Guzman and Book Society. Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Real Estate. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here with Laura Guzman. She's coming to us from Berkeley, California. She is the founder of Book Society. It is the third space. It's not home, it's not work, it's that other space. And I love that. I'd never heard that before. So explain to our guest what's a membership, what's a subscription to Book Society.
Yeah, yeah. So our membership program, it's $99 a year, and it gets you 10% off food and wine anytime that you're in the store, member rates on all of our events, and then we do some special members only activities throughout the year. And there's a birthday gift involved. So it's a fun way to feel a little bit more engaged. If you come in, it is hard to describe without visuals, but there's some interesting shots on the website if you get curious. We use a self-pour system for our wine, and that's activated by a little Book Society library card. So it's a classy little black card with our logo on it, and if you're a member, you get to keep yours, which everyone feels very special getting to do that. And then the subscription program is all about taking the experience home. And so, one thing we didn't talk about is how we curate our wine. This is one of the fun parts of, of what we do there. We curate our wine by book and wine pairings. So we pick 8 books and then 8 wines to go with them. And that changes every month. So the the fun for regulars who come back again and again is there is always something different. And so there's a little bit of a buzz that happens. We say that wine fairies come in on um, the last night of every month, and magically the next morning everything is brand new and different. So all new books and all new wines. And so that subscription program lets you take that home. You can subscribe for every month or every other month. We'll give you a book and a bottle of wine to take home, and some really fun, a page and pour companion, we call it, which is the pairing notes, why we paired that book with that wine.
Wow.
So,
Well, give it. That's so cool. I did not know that. I really got to get back. So tell us, give us an example of a book, one of the books you've done this with, and then why you chose that wine.
yeah. So, we've had some really fun themes, but I guess I'll go all the way back to the beginning. The first theme at opening was 8 books inspired by 8 women in my life that helped me to get
Mm,
to where I am. And so
nice.
that was a really lovely opportunity to just bring books from all points of time in my life, and the women who really inspired them. And so I had one called This Is Happiness by Niall Williams, who's that Irish author that visited us early on. And that is one of my all-time favorite books. and I dedicated that one to my mom. It was
Oh,
paired with a Riesling, and partly because that particular wine is something my mother loves, but it also really evoked sort of the countryside and the outdoors that you get through the lovely Ever story. This is happiness, but some of them are a little bit more fun and deliberate. We have a book right now called On Our Best Behavior, which I highly recommend, and that's paired with our non-alcoholic option of the month. So a little witty on our best behavior and the non-alcoholic wine pairing is fun. And yeah, we always have a non-alcoholic option available. And we think that's important. So again, wanting to make this as inclusive as possible, and everyone gets a chance to experience it, whether you drink or not. And we have other non-alcoholic beverages on the menu as well, along with light bites and nibbles. So yeah, we have a lot of
that
fun with that.
that you are doing so much. I mean, how it's the two of you. This is a lot to manage. I mean, how do you do it? How are you managing this? What's your secret? Do you have any certain organizational tools you use, or how are you dividing and conquering with your business partner? But those are long hours that you're open with a second job. How do you do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm learning a little bit every day. And I think the one thing that I've learned is it starts by holding strong to what I have always called my non-negotiable time. And
Mm,
I've always been an early bird, so I will admit some of the late hours have been a real struggle for me, but that first hour in the morning to get up, to take care of myself, whether I'm doing yoga or doing a workout, have a good breakfast, just get my head in the game and get myself organized for the day. I mean, if I don't do that, the rest of the day is a struggle. And then I've gotten a lot better about um, putting up blockers so that I'm staying focused on the thing I'm supposed to
mm.
be focused on during that day. The morning is dedicated to my marketing job at Excel. Then I'm there and I'm present. And the afternoon, I am there and present as much as possible. So those little blockers, notification blockers on your phone and all that go a long, long way. And then support system. I mean, like you said,
Mm.
it's a lean support team, no question about it. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Right now, I'm in the mode
Yeah,
where I want to do all the things, and I think it's going to be really hard for me to start to let go of things as
right,
we continue to grow. But
right.
doing that. Well, Excel is a really great example. I have an incredible team that I work with, and it's actually a real gift to be able to be deliberate, and they know that I'm juggling these two things, and part of my work is to make sure that I'm coaching the next generation of leaders coming into my team and in my role eventually, and I get to do that out in the open, and we don't often get to do that. And so we're having conversations, and there are days where I say, I am really struggle being here right now, and so for us to guys to kind of talk that through. Yeah, and then some days are just hard, right? And you muscle through and you get up the next day and you do it again.
Do it again. And
Mhm.
so talk about growth. I know you're only 6 months young. So do you I mean, it's a small space, and I know when I've been there, even I guess I was there early on, I mean, it was full. So do you anticipate keeping the space, getting a bigger space, and beyond getting a
Mm.
bigger space, do you see them, and I mean, you're so international, from you started it in a small town, but you've been lived everywhere and worked everywhere. So do you anticipate these, is a big goal of yours to be throughout the city or throughout the state or the country or the world? What is your bigger vision? You must have a bigger vision.
Yeah, yeah. There's something special about the intimacy of the space, and we struggle with that. If I had a wish, I would love to have separate event space. But right now we're one cozy space, and we make hard trade-offs, like when we have an event, having to close to the
Mhm.
outside community. And those are tough choices, but also it works. And
Right,
to be that intimate with a major author, for example, and only 40 people get to be in the room with that person.
right,
That's really cool. So I
right.
actually really love our space. I love our neighborhood. You can't beat where we are. It's a great demographic. So we did a lot of market research heading into this, putting my AEC and my real estate hat back on. Um, so I don't see us abandoning our space, but I certainly have visions for, this was always sort of a proof of concept. And I think it's already proving itself out. And I think the
Mhm.
struggle is where next. So I am actively doing some good market research to see where that is, whether it's Bay Area or beyond. And we're keeping the options open. We had a fun pop up in Denver about a month ago, and just playing around and building some community all over the place just to see where it makes sense. But it's you would be surprised, or maybe not, but the number of visitors who come in, and they come from everywhere.
Mhm.
It's been amazing to have folks say, "I drove down from Sacramento. I drove up from
Wow.
San Jose. We are from LA, and you were our main stop, and we made a weekend of it." I mean, that has been out of this world. Chicago, DC. So, but the question always is, so when will you open in our town?
I know.
We'll just have to figure out the right time.
Denver's a great place. My kids both went to Boulder, and we spent a lot of time in Denver. And there's just a lot of community there. And well, you probably know from doing your research that I forget what it's called, the train station that was it,
Mm.
the train station. It's now
Yep, the units,
beautiful
yeah, Union
hotel
Station.
Union, yeah, it's beautiful,
Yeah,
and that is a really comfortable place to gather like that, and, so
yeah.
I could see Denver being a great place for that. Share with us, some of your another you shared the author, the Irish author, what was one of you've done a few now, what was one of your most favorite and enjoyable talks, authors that came in?
Mm. That's a great question. We had a really lovely conversation with the authors, Abby Davison and Tara Moore. And they're both incredibly strong women, great books. Tara's work has come up in my coaching over the years multiple times. And so to have her come into this space, being so familiar with her practices, and really cultivate a great conversation that I'm really fond of having as much as we possibly can in our space is, empowering women and having conversations about, you know, overcoming everything from imposter syndrome to visioning your future life. And it's the work that led me to Book Society, and a gift to bring that back and have those conversations in our space. So yeah, that one was fun. I guess I'll give a second one. Allison Fergale and Kim Scott, two other amazing women. Allison is in company with Adam Grant and thinkers like that, and worked with him in the past. And Kim Scott wrote Radical Candor, absolutely legendary in the business circles. And so that was a really fun conversation too, that happened kind of early on. And
Mm.
you can really, yeah, sparked a lot of energy to continue to get some great lineups like that.
That's nice. So I sent my sister-in-law to go visit you as well, and I think she did a cooking one. And then we were trying to find an activity to do together, and then one of them that came up, we didn't go. But I'm curious about the title, and curious about the book. Something about some. It was a book about Keanu Reeves, but it wasn't. And I didn't really get it because there's no relation to him. But give us what was that book about?
Yeah, this is another example of we're here for it. So the book is called Much Ado About Keanu. A local author and Keanu expert wrote a book about sort of the social theory around Keanu, and why does everyone love him, and what's that all about? And we it was a really fun mashup of her, a colleague, a fellow writer who does poetry, largely dedicated to David Bowie. And so Keanu's band at one point opened for Bowie. So there
Okay.
was that connection. And then the whole conversation was moderated by a really fabulous Bowie drag queen. So we had a performance and just a really fun night.
I know my friend went, and she was explaining that there were all these different people. It wasn't just a simple book reading. It was very different. Um, so tell us, what are the types of books? How do you choose the books that you have multiple, how five, did you say five different book clubs? And how are you choosing the books for your book clubs? And what have
Yeah,
been
we've
some of
got
your favorites too?
yeah. So we've got six different book clubs, and they're thematic. So in the beginning, we made some choices. So the Secret Romantasy Fan Book Club started with Onyx Storm. For anyone who's familiar with that series, it's I like to call it the Harry Potter for adults, and Rebecca Yarros
Okay.
has a huge following. So that book released right around the time of our opening, and so lots of buzz. It was very popular, an exciting way to open up with that book. One our first WTF Did I Just Read book club was Moonbound by local author Robin Sloan, who I'm a huge fan of. He's written several great kind of sci-fi books, and they're all set in the Bay Area, and so you see some very familiar scenes and themes. And so this was his first foray into true sci-fi, and it's a definitely a very out there book. It was really fun. Um, yeah, we have some great conversations coming up. I have a leading ladies book club, and so that's really centered around a lot more nonfiction. And I did the Ina Garten
Oh,
memoir for the last one, and that was lovely. We're doing Mel Robbins' book next month,
oh, fun.
and what else am I missing that have been really fun? Oh, the Cookbook Lovers Club is one of my favorites. I mean, we're in
I bet
Berkeley.
that's
We're a foodie.
popular.
Oh, we're a foodie town. So the Cookbook Lovers Club is in partnership with a really great gal, BB, who's a cookbook author and food stylist. And we're in several foodie networks around here. So it's for everyone who loves cookbooks, loves cooking, or all of the above. And the cookbook author always joins us. So that's really special to
That's
sit, to have a
very
book
fun.
club in conversation with the author. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
very fun. That's exciting. People, that's probably your most popular one. People love cooking. So how are you meet? I mean, are you every week are people coming in to have the book club in person? Is that how it works with all five or?
So the book clubs generally rotate on a quarterly basis, so folks have
Okay.
time to read. But I do have several people who join every book club. So those happen usually around the second Tuesday of every month, and then we've added the others in. And then, yeah, we host our book clubs, but we also have a book club package. So outside book clubs can
Oh,
reserve space to meet in our space, which is, and
wow.
there are a lot of them, but that struggle to find space or don't want to host it at their house
Right.
anymore. So we curate that for them. They get a snack, a glass of wine. If we know what book they're doing, we'll do our best to do a little book and wine pairing. So it's really fun. That's actually a lot of our week, our book clubs meeting in our space.
That's a really great one. I did not know about that
Yeah.
one. And is your space available to rent to other than book clubs if someone was going to host them because it's such a adorable space.
Yeah. Yeah, we right now we have book birthday parties have used that book club package to reserve
Okay.
space too. The only thing we haven't figured out, frankly, is renting out the whole space. And it goes back to that every time we do that, we're not open to the community. So that's a little bit of our current
Right.
conundrum. But yeah,
That's hard. Yeah.
we're open to lots of things.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. It's just an incredible. So, what are some last things you want to share with our audience? How could we continue to support you? And we've hit on quite a few things that I didn't know that you did. I didn't know you had all these book clubs and that people can rent the space there and the membership and subscription fee. I mean, you have a lot going on. What other
Yeah.
things can we do to help you with and help further your beautiful, beautiful space there?
Well, no, I appreciate the question. I think, I welcome everybody coming to visit us and say hello. I think for this audience, thinking about, yeah, if you're involved in building community and in any form or fashion, you're thinking about where those third spaces are. Because if there's one thing that has become very clear to me, it's that this wasn't just my need. This wasn't just the space that I needed,
Right.
that clearly the community did too. And I think that spaces like this, everybody loves a bookstore and everybody
Mhm.
needs their cafe. There's some real fundamentals that belong in our communities. And I think we should be thinking about what are those third spaces where we can continue to come together and really be together or find a way to unplug. So I would encourage everyone to be considering that as you're building your neighborhoods and
Right.
building out your spaces. Well, and you mentioned it too. I'll add one more, and that's, there was a lot of work that went into the build out of this space,
Yeah.
and I know the risk. And I was asked a lot of questions about, wow, you're putting a lot into this space that isn't yours, and I think that was an investment well worth it. It would not
Mm.
be the space that it is if we hadn't spent the time to really create the ambiance and invest in that. And I'd like to create an environment where small business owners can do that.
I agree that it's so true because it wasn't that other places aren't nice or a coffee shop isn't nice. Let's say that's the closest thing I can say that this is compared because it's not a restaurant, but it is that space that you want to come back to it. It's not. It's just very warm, and you've done a great job doing that. And you're right. I think because of the beauty and the design and the layout and the how welcoming you all are, it's and the furnishings, it's all very comfortable. It doesn't feel sterile or commercial in any way. And it is nice that it is small as well. It's very, you just feel very comfortable there. And you do feel like you're in someone's living room having a coffee or wine with a friend. So you've done an incredible job. So what do you have coming up? I know you probably have a month or 2 months out. So, and is it every Tuesday and Wednesday that you do these special events? Um,
Just about.
okay.
Yeah, it depends, but yeah, just about. And yeah, so we've got our rotating series of book clubs, and so those are coming up. One of the next ones up is our Wandering Book Club. So if anyone's looking to get out into nature, that's a fun one on a Sunday. And we are kicking off trivia night, which is going to
Oh,
be the first time we're doing that in a couple weeks, and that has been very popular with signups already. So a little book and wine trivia. I could see that becoming a regular
oh,
thing.
yeah, a very loud, loud and
That'll
loud.
be really fun. Yeah, I we've got several author talks in the works, and they're really fun. We've got a great new author duo of a romance that's going to be a great crowd pleaser, I think. We've got a what we'll call a princess rebellion party. So it's another author event, but she's written a book that reimagines, well, what happens when Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, and Cinderella turn 50, and they've kind of had it with this whole princess thing. So it's a great story. She's a first time author. And we're going to do a little princess rebellion party. So
That's cute.
all sorts of things in the work though. I mean, that just scratches the surface. So yeah.
Wow. Where are you coming up with all these ideas? It's amazing. They're all so different and unique and I mean, and so needed, like you said, it's very needed. It's, people are kind of, so let's kind of end. So where were people finding community before? I mean, I know there's so many people, single people, divorced people, people just not in a relationship that want to be in a relationship with people, with community. I find that with the older people too, their husbands have passed, their wives have passed, and their friends have passed, and I struggle with this with a friend of mine who's in her 80s, and it's, I kind of want her to go into a community living situation so she's around people. We go out to lunch once a month, but that's not enough, or she'll come to my open houses and hang out with me. But I just feel like this should be replicated. You can't do all of it, but there's, like you said, you are encouraging this, and people having this in community. So where were people finding it before community, and how did that help you come to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question. I mean, I think libraries play a big role in that in some way, and that's a little bit about how I came to this. I was volunteering with the Friends of the Oakland Public Library, and was ended up co-managing their nonprofit bookstore in downtown Oakland, and that's really where I cut my teeth on the book side of this business. And so I did see, certainly the role that those community spaces like libraries and bookstores play, certainly cafes to some extent, but I think again, I do think there was a gap in that,
Mhm.
and especially if you're older, speaking from experience, the assisted living is sort of has been the answer, at least in my family and close colleagues who have gone through that. So I love that this can be something else. And what's interesting is, if you think about the intergenerational need, and we see
Mhm.
it play out every day in the store, and folks will sit down, and we have everything set up in little circles, and strangers will sit down, and they are young and they're old. They're, kids just out of college, all the way to older folks, and they're hanging out. And it only takes a couple minutes, and somebody asks, "Oh, hey, what are you reading?" And that's the gateway. And then conversations happen, and then we see them again and again, and that's just magic. So, yeah,
No, it's
I don't
great. I
know.
because when I was in New York with my daughter, she lives in New York, and we wanted to get out of the apartment. It was rainy, and so we went to, it was Capital One. I think it's called Capital One Cafe. And I'd seen
Hmm.
him before, I'd never been in, but what I noticed, and it was really cool, it was fun to be somewhere where we could sit and plug in. She was working on a resume, I was working on my real estate marketing. But then just looking around at all the different people there it was this cute, this old man, he was there, and I'm like, and he wasn't working on anything, but there were groups of women together and men, and it was very, it was social but comfortable, and there was food in a cafe. But this older man was so cute. He had moved around. He was sitting here, and then he came and moved there. And he overheard us talking about Bianca was doing her resume, and he started chatting. And later, I said to Bianca, I go, they probably come here because they're lonely. They're lonely, and it's such a nice place for them to be able to come. And it was cold and rainy outside, and so it just, that kind of reminds me. I mean, what they did is, now I look back, like, wow, that was genius of Capital One Cafe to do that. And then I was trying to understand what the reasoning was. So if you use your Capital One card, you got a discount on the food and drink, and you could actually rent cubicles for if you wanted to have a little meeting. But it was genius. So they are starting to pop up, but yours is very elegant and gorgeous. And I just want to commend you, Laura. You've done a great job, and I look forward to watching you grow and attending. I am a member, and I just haven't been there, so I've got to start using my membership. And I'm definitely
Thank
coming for a
you.
sound bath. I love sound baths, but you do it all. And just, how do people get a hold of you? And where, just give us where the space is as well, and the location, etc.
Yeah, we're at 2945 College Ave in Berkeley, so it's in the Elmwood neighborhood. And yeah, you can find us online at booksociety.social or at Book Society Social, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah,
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Laura. This was so
thank
fun, and I'm
you.
going to go on my app and sign up for one of the next events. And it was so great. And I'll continue to send people down, and I will bring Velma, because maybe I could get Velma to come and be comfortable there. She's very picky about her situations, but I'm going to bring her in so she can. It's very close to her house, and I think it would be a great space for her to find community. Thank you so much, Laura. I
Cool.
appreciate your time
Thank
today, and
you.
I will see you soon.
Sounds good. Can't wait. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Tune in each week for another episode of Mastering the Art of Real Estate with host Debbie DiMaggio. Here Fridays, noon Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network. Tune in to where real estate matters matter.